The first scream came from behind the locked doors of the hospital floor that had been closed for 20 years. It was loud, sharp, full of pain. Nurse Emily Carter froze in the hallway, her hand still on the mop handle. The sound didn't come from the emergency room. It didn't come from any patient room. It came from upstairs, from floor 9. Everyone at St. Jude Memorial Hospital knew about floor 9. It was sealed, locked, forgotten. The elevator buttons didn't light up for it. The stairwell door was chained shut with a warning sign that read, "Do not enter, unsafe structure." Emily's heart began to race. The scream came again, longer this time, and closer. Emily whispered to herself, "That's not possible." Floor 9 had been closed since before she was born. 20 years ago, something happened up there. No one talked about it. New staff were told it was water damage. Old staff avoided the topic completely. Emily had only been working the night shift for 3 months. She hated nights, but the pay was better. The hospital was quiet at 2:13 a.m., too quiet. Then the lights flickered. Emily looked toward the stairwell. The chain door to floor 9 was open. The chain lay on the floor, broken like it had been pulled apart by force. Cold air poured down the stairs. It smelled old, like rust, like medicine that had expired years ago. Emily backed away slowly. "Hello," she called out, her voice shaking. No answer. Then she heard footsteps. Slow footsteps, coming down the stairs. Emily turned and ran. She didn't look back until she reached the nurse's station. Her hands shook as she grabbed the desk phone and called security. "Security, this is Emily on floor 7. The stairwell to floor 9 is open. I heard someone screaming." There was a long pause on the line. Then the guard, Mark Reynolds, spoke slowly. "Emily, floor 9 doesn't open." "I know," she said, near tears. "But it did, and something is moving." Another pause. Mark lowered his voice. "Stay where you are. I'm coming." Emily sat down, hugging her arms. She tried to calm her breathing. She told herself it was stress. Maybe pipes making noise. Maybe her mind playing tricks. That's when the elevator dinged. Emily's head snapped up. The elevator doors opened, and the screen above it read, 9. Her blood turned cold. No one was inside the elevator. The lights flickered again. The doors began to close. But just before they shut, Emily saw something inside. Wheelchairs. Old ones. Stacked on top of each other. Covered in dried blood. The doors slammed shut. Emily screamed. The elevator began to move down. Slowly. Floor 8. Floor 7. It stopped right in front of her. The doors opened again. This time, someone was inside. A patient, wearing a hospital gown from 20 years ago. Her skin was gray. Her eyes were sunken. Her mouth hung open like she had been screaming for a very long time. She lifted her head and looked directly at Emily. Then she spoke. "Why did you leave us up there?" Emily tried to run, but her legs wouldn't move. The patient took one step forward. Behind her, more shapes appeared inside the elevator. Patients, nurses, doctors, all broken, all wrong. And from the stairwell behind Emily, heavy footsteps began coming down fast. Very fast. Emily realized the truth in that moment. Floor 9 was never closed. It was sealed. And now, it was open. The elevator doors started to close again. But a pale hand reached out and stopped them. The lights went out. And something whispered right behind Emily's ear. "You're not supposed to see this." Emily felt a cold breath brush her neck as the whisper faded. Her whole body locked up. She wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The hallway lights flickered back on, buzzing weakly, and for 1 second everything looked normal again. The elevator doors were closed. The stairwell was quiet. Emily gasped and stumbled forward, nearly falling. "No, no, no," she whispered, backing away from the elevator. Her heart was beating so hard it hurt. That's when she heard footsteps running. "Emily." Mark's voice echoed down the hall. She turned and saw Mark Reynolds, the night security guard, jogging toward her with his flashlight and radio. Relief washed over her so fast her knees gave out. He caught her before she hit the floor. "Easy, easy," Mark said. "You're okay. I'm here." Emily grabbed his arm. "You didn't see it. The elevator. There were people inside. Dead people. They talked to me." Mark's face tightened. He didn't laugh. He didn't tell her she was imagining things. He looked scared. "Emily," he said quietly, "tell me exactly what you saw." As she spoke, Mark's grip on the flashlight grew tighter. When she mentioned the patient asking why they were left behind, Mark closed his eyes for a moment. "Oh God," he whispered. "You know," Emily said. "You know what happened up there?" Mark nodded slowly. Floor 9 was a long-term care ward. Mental health, terminal patients, people nobody visited anymore. 20 years ago, there was a fire. "A fire?" Emily asked. "Why wasn't that in the records?" "Because it wasn't supposed to happen," Mark said. "The fire alarms failed. The sprinklers didn't turn on, and the stairwell doors locked automatically." Emily's stomach twisted. "How many people?" Mark swallowed. 37 patients. 6 nurses. 2 doctors. Emily felt sick. "They burned." "No," Mark said, voice shaking. "Most of them suffocated. Some were still alive when the fire went out. But the doors didn't open." Emily covered her mouth. "They left them there. They sealed the floor," Mark said. "Quietly. Paid families. Changed records." Floor 9 was erased. A loud clang echoed down the hallway. Both of them jumped. It came from the stairwell. The chain door, now broken, creaked slowly open wider. A hospital bed rolled out on its own. Its wheels squeaked loudly as it moved across the floor, stopping right in front of them. The sheets were burned and stained, and someone was lying on it. Emily shook her head. "No, no, no." The person on the bed slowly sat up. It was a nurse. Her badge still hung from her neck, melted and blackened. Her face was burned, but her eyes were wide open, wet with anger. "You locked us in," the nurse said. "You walked away." Mark stepped in front of Emily. "We didn't do this," he said. "We weren't even here." The nurse tilted her head. "But you work here now." Behind her, more beds rolled out of the stairwell. Wheelchairs followed. 4 stands. Then footsteps. Dozens of them. The hallway temperature dropped fast. Emily could see her breath. The lights began exploding one by one, plunging the floor into darkness. "Run," Mark said. "Now." They ran toward the emergency exit, shoes slipping on the polished floor. Behind them, voices filled the hallway, crying, screaming, coughing, begging. "Don't leave us. It hurts. Open the door." Emily felt hands brushing her back, her hair, her arms, cold hands that burned like ice. They burst through the exit door and slammed it shut. Mark threw his weight against it as something heavy hit the other side. The door shook violently. Emily leaned against the wall, sobbing. "They are still here. They are all still here." Mark grabbed his radio with shaking hands. "This is Reynolds. We have a breach. Floor 9 is active. I repeat, active." The radio crackled. Then a voice answered. "Not dispatch. Not human. You never checked on us," the voice said calmly. Emily looked at the radio. Blood began to drip out of the speaker. Mark dropped it in horror. The exit door behind them suddenly went silent. Too silent. Then a calm, familiar voice spoke from the darkness of the hallway ahead. "Emily." She froze. She knew that voice. It was Dr. Harris, the doctor who had trained her, the doctor who died 10 years ago. He stepped into the emergency light, wearing a burned lab coat, his smile twisted and wrong. "We need you upstairs," he said gently. "Floor 9 is awake." Behind him, the elevator dinged again, and the screen lit up. 9. The elevator doors slid open slowly, making a long metal sound that echoed through the hallway. Inside was darkness so deep it looked solid. The number 9 glowed red above the door like an open eye. Emily grabbed Mark's arm. "We can't go up there." Dr. Harris smiled gently, the same calm smile he used when patients were scared. But his eyes were wrong. They were burned around the edges, and smoke drifted out when he blinked. "You already belong to that floor," he said. "You heard us. That means you were chosen." Mark stepped forward, raising his flashlight like it could protect them. "This ends tonight," he said. "You should have been put to rest." Dr. Harris's smile disappeared. "We were never given rest," he said quietly. "We were given silence." The hallway behind them filled with shapes. Patients, nurses, doctors, all standing shoulder to shoulder, blocking every exit. Their mouths opened at the same time, releasing a low sound, like breathing through burned lungs. Emily felt her knees weaken. Mark leaned close to her and whispered, "If they want us upstairs, then upstairs is where we end this." Emily stared at him. "What are you saying?" Mark pulled something from his pocket. "A master keycard. I've worked here 20 years, he said. "Long enough to know where they hid the truth." Before Emily could stop him, Mark stepped into the elevator. The doors began to close. Emily screamed, "Mark." He looked at her one last time. "Don't let them seal it again." The doors shut. The elevator rose. The hallway went silent. Then every light went out. Emily stood alone in total darkness. Her heart beat so loud she thought it would give her away. She backed up slowly until her hand hit the wall. A small red light flickered on beside her. A fire alarm. She smiled through tears. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." Emily pulled the alarm. The sound exploded through the hospital. Sirens. Flashing lights. Emergency systems waking up after years of sleep. Sprinklers burst from the ceiling, pouring water down the hallway. The shadows screamed. Not loudly, but in pain. The walls began to shake. Above her, the elevator screamed as it reached floor 9. Then something massive slammed into the ceiling. Emily ran. She didn't stop until she reached the lobby, where nurses and guards were pouring in, confused and scared. Firefighters arrived. Police. The hospital was filled with noise and light. But upstairs, floor 9 burned. Not with fire, with light. At sunrise, the hospital announced a structural collapse on the long-closed floor. No bodies were found. No explanation was given. Emily quit the next day. Mark Reynolds was never seen again. They said he vanished during the chaos. But sometimes, when Emily drives past the hospital at night, she looks up, and she sees one light on the 9th floor. She hears the elevator ding in her mind, and she remembers what the patient asked her. "Why did you leave us up there?" Emily knows the truth now. The floor wasn't closed to protect the hospital. It was closed to protect the world. Because some places don't want to be remembered. They want to be fed. And floor 9 is still hungry.